Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's great to be back. Um, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to everyone. Sorry about last week. Came down with a small cold and wasn't able to fulfill our study session. So we'll be doing the material from last week this week. Thank you for your prayers, your support. Thank you for being here tonight. It's a great uh, honor, privilege to be back here and studying with everybody today. Once again, thank you, and I look forward for us having a wonderful study. So first and foremost, before we begin, start with the sacred oath. With great fear of God, we acknowledge that the Lord God is our true Father, one and only God. We revere Meishu Sama as the model for all humanity and as our own example to follow. Meishu Sama, who was born anew, the true child of God, Messiah, by receiving the divine will that God accomplished in heaven. We believe that Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years ago embodied the name of Messiah, name most holy and high, is serving the Lord God in unity with Meishu. We regard the messages of Kyoshu Sama, who reveals to us the will of Meishu Sama in this material world, as the sole, absolute, and irreplaceable foundation in advancing our mission. Words of prayer. God, I acknowledge that you are alive. Within me, you are alive. I thank you for nurturing me to be newly born as your child. May this blessing be shared with all. In the name of Messiah, who is one with Meishu Sama, I surrender myself to you. Please use me as you wish. Sorry, apologize. So, as always in our studies, let us recognize that everything that we experience tonight, everything that we feel, everything that we think, God is uniting all these feelings, all these thoughts in the center of our consciousness so that we can surrender everything back to God in heaven. Okay? Uh, one moment, please. Can you guys hear me okay? Is there a problem with the sound? We're having a sound. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is. This should fix the sound a little bit. Might have a little bit of clipping. I apologize. If it's bad. I'll try to fix for the next study. Okay? So today's study, actually, it was last week. I chose the following hymn from Meishu Sama. This hymn was used in the November service in Japan, and it really touched me. Meishu Sama says the following: "Alas, I am clanging a bell to wake everyone up, but they cover their ears and do not even try to hear. Alas, I am clanging a bell to wake everyone up, but they cover their ears and do not even try to hear." It's, through this hymn, we can really feel Beesha Sama's, in a way, frustration, right? Trying to wake up as many people as possible, bring this new gospel to as many people as possible. And yet, people do not even try to hear what he's saying. Right? We have this wonderful gospel of salvation for all humanity. And we can see at this time in Mesh Sama's life that he was writing not to people, I believe, in the world at large only, but within the church itself, right? Probably most ministers at that time, most members at that time, didn't really accept what Meisha Sama was trying to bring forth to everybody, right? Was trying to really convey to the world. I think for many people, it must have been a big shock when Meisha Sama changed the name of the church to World Church of Messiah. And it went all of a sudden from being this Japanese Eastern church to having an Oriental, Occidental, Western name, right? To have the name Messiah within the name. And not only that, I believe that in 1954, when Meisha Sama declared that he was born anew as Messiah, right? And he had all these hymns and all these sacred words regarding Jesus, right? And his relationship to Jesus. It must have been extremely hard for many of his followers to truly let down their guard and listen, right? Uh, Even though this is the gospel that humanity has been waiting for, right? The moment that humanity has been waiting for. People willfully did not want to listen. So, if we feel some kind of a frustration when we try to bring this out and people don't want to listen, I think that's just a reflection right now of what God is showing, right? The extreme point in which humanity ended up reaching, the point that we got. Just a couple weeks ago, before I caught this cold, I was having a conversation with a friend member, and this person had mentioned to me how they believe that we needed to go outside more, right? Reach out to society and be more active within society at large. And at that time, talking to this person, I said, you know, in a way, this person was comparing our church to many other churches, right? And there's so many wonderful churches out there doing great social community activity, right? They're doing great work and helping the community. And when we were talking, I asked the person, right? But before we go out into the world at large, before we really reach out, what are we bringing to the table? How can we help these churches truly fulfill their mission? And this person that I was talking to said, I don't think there's anything that we can help, right? We're so small. There's nothing that we can really bring out to these churches, right? They're doing great jobs. Basically, we should just go and participate in that. And, talking to this person, I realized until we really identify what our true identity is, right? Why will we go out? And when we go out, what are we bringing? Until that's very clear, kind of pointless to just go out, right? How can we really help these other churches? And how can we really help humanity at large if we don't truly know what we're here for, right? If we're not really opening up to hear what Meishu Sama has brought for humanity, right? This new gospel. And with that, right, there's also one more um, hymn that I like for us to keep in mind today as we study. The hymn goes as follows. Yeshu Sama says, "O God, how deep and unfathomable your plan is. It can never be seen by human eyes. There is no way we can understand it." And I brought this up to bring to the point that, um, when we were discussing me and this person, we were talking about Meishu Sama's a sacred word. How they wish they had access to Meishu Sama's sacred word in their entirety, right? To be able to truly understand Meishu Sama's way. What was Meishu Sama's true? And as we studied in past uh, study sessions last year, Meishu Sama clearly stated that his writings are the most difficult writings to understand. In a human perception, it's impossible for us to really perceive, right? No matter, even if we did speak Japanese, and even if we did have access to all his writings, right? To truly perceive the message of his writings, right? To truly perceive the one message that Meishu Sama had with our human intellect, this is something that's impossible. And this is the very reason why Meishu Sama created the holy seed of Kyoshu, right? Where he can truly work through as uh, work through to bring the essence of his sacred word to all of us, right? That's why we have Kyoshu Sama in a Kyoshu centered church. Kyoshu Sama clearly said that, right? He developed that, he created that so that he could lead the divine through that. So it's 2 points, right? As we study today, is one, what is our identity, right? Why are we here? What is the purpose of our church? And number two is um, understanding that it is not with our human intellect and our human strength that will be able to really fulfill this mission, to really fulfill what our identity is for. Last year, back in the end of July, we studied Masak Sama's message. And through that, I like to actually go back a little bit in time and recapture what Meishu Sama talks about as the mission of religion. Why are we really here? What is the purpose of religion? And I'd like to look at that a little bit today with you, just for a few minutes for us to remember what it is that we read. In his message, reading, the sacred word of Meishu Sama penetrates all time and space. Masaik Sama quoted the following sacred word from Meishu Sama that says the following. People in the religious world often say human beings must have such and such sentiment, or you must put such and such sentiment, you must put such and such into action. To try to improve the human mind through these teachings, however, is actually something below religion. They are within the sphere of morality. Sermon of February 15th, 1950. So Meisama is saying that religion is something beyond simply becoming a better person, right? With better attitudes, better thoughts, better actions. Even though that's important, that type of growth is in the scope of morality, right? Then it continues. In essence, when we say religion, it refers to the teachings of a founder. They are along the lines human beings should do good. You should not do evil. You should respect your parents. You should take good care of your possessions. These, however, are actually just moral teaching, and to hold fast to these is not enough. Sermon, July 27, 1953. So when the conventional thinking of religion is adhering to these teachings of its founder, but coming up, they are just moral teachings, right? And just at that level, just at the level of teachings, that's not enough to fulfill what it is that religion needs to fulfill. May someone continue. Religion has its own unique mission. Religion has its own unique mission to deliver the spirit of all humankind from unhappiness for all eternity. Deliver the spirit of all humankind from unhappiness for all eternity. Education and moral teachings, ethics and philosophy, their salvation is temporal. They do not have the power to limitlessly save the souls of humankind. Mission of Religion, September 15, 1935. So here, may someone clearly state, religion has a mission to deliver all humankind from unhappiness for all eternity. It should have a limitless power to save the souls of all humankind. So it's not just this lifetime, it's eternally. This lifetime and beyond, forever. That is the mission of religion, right? So that's the one thing we need to understand as a church. We have a tremendous mission going out into society. We have to serve God in delivering humankind from unhappiness for all eternity. That's why we're going. We're not going just simply to do a social call, right? A social activity. It's to really bring about a way to do that. And in the study, Masaksama continues and he quotes the following. Human beings have to simply acknowledge the existence of God and know that he sees through everything. Anything else is a trivial matter. It is unnecessary. Everyone makes religious teaching so troublesome by saying things like, one must do this or one must act like this. The single most crucial point is this: God exists. But there is scarcely anyone who teaches this. To be honest, I think only World Church of Messiah says this now. I have never heard people of other religions advocating this. Sermon, February 27, 1954. Human beings have to simply acknowledge the existence of God and know that he sees through everything. Anything else is trivial. It's a trivial matter. It is unnecessary. Everyone makes religious teaching so troublesome by saying things like, one must do this, one must act like this. The single most crucial point is this: God exists. But there is scarcely anyone who teaches this. To be honest, I think only World Church of Messiah says this now. I have never heard people of other religions advocate. And lastly, there's one more quote from this reading of Masak Sama that I like to share with you. Keshe Sama said, I often hear people say to me, World Church of Messiah does not have any teaching, does it? They say things like this because they regard our religion as an ordinary religion, the kind one can find in society now. To tell you the truth, we are not a religion, so we don't need any teaching. For what we do cannot be explained by teaching. From olden times, most religions have had their teachings, so you should be able to find many that are held in high regard. However, teachings are simply explanations. They do not save anyone. Sermon, March 6, 1954. Ramesh Sama is saying, you cannot compare our religion to the religion of today, the religions that we know of today. We cannot adhere only to teaching, for they do not have the power. Then, if we take this into account, and we take into account what Meisho Sama is saying about the mission of religion, of the eternal mission of religion to truly save humanity from unhappiness for all of eternity, right? A religion that truly has that power. Then, even though we are apparently such a small church, right? Physically, compared to many religions of the world, we are tiny. But Meisho Sama is saying, within us, there lies a power to bring about this true salvation. Not only that, that is the true mission of our religion. And I think that, this talk with this friend and member was perfect timing, because we just received the day after that Masak Sama's greeting for January 1st, where it's entitled The Second Coming. And in this greeting, Masak Sama makes very clear to all of us the true identity of our church. Right? The one message that goes through all of Meisho Sama's sacred word that is here, this new gospel for all to be saved, right? And I believe that if we truly don't comprehend that, then just to go out into society right now is we're just doing a physical activity, right? We really have to be able to grasp that. So I know many of you have watched, but I'd like to watch this video one more time with you tonight. Give me a few seconds and I'll get that on for us.
Teachings of Meisho Sama. The sacred word of Meisho Sama. What are they? What are the teachings of Meisho Sama? What is the sacred word of Meisho Sama? I hear some people say that unless all his teachings are translated, we can never understand the true will of Meisho Sama. Well, is this true? Unless we know all his words, can we not understand what he really wants to tell us? No, that's not true. To start with, even though we say that they are the teachings of Meisho Sama, who do they belong to? Who does the sacred word of Meisho Sama belong to? It belongs to God, doesn't it? The teachings of Meisho Sama belong to God. And they came from God, didn't they? Every single word in his teachings came from God, didn't it? Now then, where is God? Where is he? Where does he live? He lives within each one of us. He exists within each one of us, doesn't he? The soul of God rests within us. God is the origin of the teachings of Meisho Sama. He is the source of the sacred word of Meisho Sama. God knows everything and provides all knowledge. And it is this God who lives within each one of us. So how can we say that we can never understand the true will of Meisho Sama unless all his teachings are translated? The one who knows everything, the one who created the teachings of Meisho Sama, the sacred word of Meisho Sama, is in us. In fact, we have a part of God within us. Our true identity is God Himself. Translating all of His words may take another several decades or perhaps more, maybe 100 or 200 years. In that case, are we going to say that we have to wait that long to know what Meishu Sama really wants? Then what are we doing now? Are we just wasting our time without knowing His true will? Are we going to die not knowing what Meishu Sama really wanted? Listen to what Jesus says. He says, you study the scriptures diligently because you think that in them you have eternal life. These are the very scriptures that testify about me. What does the sacred word of Meishu Sama testify to? What does it point to? What is its conclusion? It testifies that Meishu Sama was sent by God to complete the work Jesus began 2,000 years ago. That we humans are destined to be born anew as God's children, as Messiahs, and that the second coming of Christ has already been accomplished within each and every one of us. This is what the teachings of Meishu Sama testify and point to. This is the conclusion of His sacred word. If you do not accept this conclusion of His teachings, no matter how much you talk about them, it is useless. But if you accept and believe in this conclusion, even a single passage, a mere sentence from His teachings, start to carry life. Know this, everyone. Meishu Sama Himself is the embodiment of His teachings, His sacred word. And yes, the second coming of Christ. The second coming of Christ. Unlike some people, we are not going to say that only Meishu Sama is the second coming of Christ. Because if we do so, Meishu Sama will be condemned as a false prophet, a false Christ. What we are going to say is this: not only Meishu Sama, but all of humanity, without exception, have already received the soul of Christ, the soul of Messiah within them. This thing that the Christians have been waiting for a long time, that humanity has been waiting for a long time. It was accomplished in Meishu Sama, and it is also already accomplished within every single one of us. Every single one of you. Jesus Christ is supposed to return, right? He ascended to heaven 2,000 years ago and is supposed to descend with the glory of God, with the resounding shouts of hallelujah, right? And is supposed to judge all humanity and establish God's kingdom of heaven on earth, right? Let me tell you today that He has already descended. Christ has already descended. Where? Within each one of us. Within each one of you. The second coming of Christ that the Christians want so much, the glorious God's kingdom that the Christians and all humanity want so much, they're already within us. The soul of Christ, the soul of Messiah is already within us. Heaven is already established within us. Jesus said, "Yes, I'm coming soon." He already came. Do you think He will be this late when He said that He was coming soon? But actually, to tell you the truth, He has never left us in the first place. He has never left us in the first place. We were, we are, and we will always be together with the soul of Christ, the soul of Messiah. We were always together with God. There's not been a single moment when we were apart from God. The soul of Christ, of Messiah, is not going to come back for the second time because because it has always been with us. It is not going to return to us because it has always been with us. So say to God, "Oh God, your soul has never left us. Your soul has never left us. Your soul has never left us. The soul of Christ, of Messiah, was, is, and will always be with us." This is how the second coming of Christ will be accomplished within us. This is how the descent of Christ will be accomplished within us. But some may want to say, no, that can't be the meaning of the second coming of Christ, because I haven't seen him with my own eyes. Well, if so, why did Jesus say to Thomas, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." The time has come for us to believe without seeing. The time has come for us to believe without seeing. The second coming of Christ has already been accomplished within us. God's kingdom of heaven is already established within us. This is the message of Meishu Sama's teachings. This is the message of his sacred word. And remember, salvation is found not in the actual words of the teachings of Meishu Sama. Rather, it is found within you. It is alive within you. Meishu Sama said that he was born anew as the Messiah, and that he was the second coming of Christ. Kyoshi Sama is saying that we can also be like Meishu Sama. He's saying that Meishu Sama is our model. He's saying that the soul of Messiah, of Christ, is within us. That heaven is already established within us. This sounds simple, maybe too simple, but nobody in the history of our church has said anything like this. So beware. Do not take any credit for the true faith of Meishu Sama that Kyoshi Sama is now revealing to us. How fortunate we are that we have come to know the truth of God, the truth of Jesus, and the truth of Meishu Sama through Kyoshi Sama. God, may your immense glory be shared with everyone.
Perhaps the strongest, most powerful message that we have received. Can't have it any clearer, right? The message, the coming of Christ, what humanity has been waiting for thousands of years, was revealed to us. And one thing that really caught my, it is time for us to believe without. If that is not the essence of truth, what is? To truly believe that God is alive. This essence, the soul of Christ, Messiah, alive within us. When we truly believe that, then for the first, Meishu Sama's sacred word, true power that can save all humanity, the true source of that exists within us. How fortunate we are, moment, to be receiving Meishu Sama's sacred word and its the true essence of that. And I believe that if we don't have this fear within us, this firm conviction within, then no matter how far we go into society, into the community at large. You'd just be wandering in dark because we're refusing to accept where only in that truth that we'll be able to truly return to the heaven that exists in us. God who is alive within us, with all those out in society. I believe that before we even go out, before we do any activity large, we need to have this in truly believe without that the second coming of Christ has already happened within us. For this to be expressed, how blessed we are to have Yosha Sama, have Masak Sama, through Kyosha, really fulfill our mission. This message, this video, I could say I would like to over and over every study session, every day. So we really comprehend it to its deepest meaning. So we're really living it truest. So time, rewatch, watch as much as possible. Really not leave this as simple knowledge, right? As simple facts that we know, but make it true by accepting ourselves. I believe that if we really do that, in the name of Messiah, God will be using His will for all humanity. And thank you so much. Video is available on our Facebook pages, available on our website, it's available everywhere, available on the church's site. And take this every time you look into something. So let's not get caught on the word, but on the true fulfillment of God's new life. Let's bring this gospel for all humanity. All glory.